Hey guys, Ricky here, owner of DoDContract.com and host of the Government Sales Momentum podcast. Before we get started, I want to tell you about our most popular free training, where we teach you the very first step you need to take to sell products and services to the U.S. military. Go to DoDContract.com/first, and we're going to show you how much the Department of Defense spends on your product or service each year. You know, the DoD is one of the biggest single purchasers of goods and services in the world, yet most small businesses never even attempt to sell to them. And look, they buy more than weapon systems. They're buying everything from food and office supplies to medicine, HVAC units, accounting services, legal services, the list goes on. You know, the only way to make success happen for you is to take action and get started. We'd love to help you consistently win 6 to 8 figure contracts with the Department of Defense. Head over to DoDContract.com to get started now, or DoDContract.com/first to see if defense contracting is right for you. Now on with the show. Well, thanks everyone for listening today. I am talking with Arturo. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you.
Good. And I know we just had a quick conversation before the podcast started. You're in Peru today.
Yes, I am.
Amazing, working on some projects. So you are a busy guy, and we really appreciate you taking some time to jump on the podcast with us and talk about federal contracting and selling to the DoD and whatnot.
Absolutely, yes, of course.
Fantastic. Well, Arturo, if you could we maybe start by talking about, you know, what your company does, what you're specialized in, maybe a little bit of history there.
Absolutely, yes. My company is certified with the Veterans Affairs. Is certified as a service-disabled vet company, a small company. I am an ex-Navy veteran, service-disabled as well, 100% owner of Precision General Contractors.
Okay, thank you for your service.
Florida, in the state of Florida since 2013.
Okay, perfect. And what does your company do?
We are a service and procurement for the federal government, especially for the VA hospitals. You help with procurement for the VA hospital? Procurement and services. And services. So as a construction services and all trades. Okay. You say all trades? Correct. Okay. What's the name of your business? Precision General Contractors, LLC. Precision? Yes. General Contractors. Yeah. Great. So with Precision General Contractors, and you said you are a certified SDVOSB. So for our listeners, that's a set aside certification that you can get if you're a service disabled veteran. And you can't just sign up for it. You have to go through the process, right? And so you went through the process with the VA. And I know it sounds like you're doing a lot of work with the VA. Is that the case? That's correct. Yes. Okay. But not only with the VA, but also we did some projects for the Coast Guard and the Army Corps of Engineers. Yep, Army Corps of Engineers, sure. Yeah. And that makes sense if you do a lot of construction-related services and whatnot. No, that's very cool. So you've been doing this now for a few years. You've got your certification. I know the VA likes to use that certification a lot, where they'll give preference to SDVOSB companies that are selling services and products. Maybe we could talk a little bit about, you know, where you're at now. It sounds like you have some past performance with these agencies. What are your goals as far as selling to the government over the next couple of years? Oh, yes. I'm working on to getting more certifications so we can do some work for the DoD and the DHS. My main goal is to be able to work, do projects for the embassies worldwide. Mm-hmm. And so I'm working on those certifications as we speak with one of my legal departments in the state of Florida. So that's something that's the main goal. Roger. Be able to do projects overseas. Okay, interesting. So, and is that targeting U.S. military installations overseas, or only U.S.? No, only U.S. militaries. Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Because there is the foreign military sales aspect too, which you could potentially jump into if you're working overseas like that. Okay, great. Where right now do you see your challenges?
Employees.
Yeah.
Employees. Yeah, that's one of the main things that I'm working on to it. Trying to hire as many veterans that knows how the government, the federal government system works. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main challenges that I'm facing right now. My company is facing right now, and so little by little we are trying to here and there to recruit ex-military personnel so they can help us get what we're going to get.
So when you say that, understanding how the process works, the government process works, do you mean that you're looking for people to help you with your acquisitions with the business, like, with the opportunities, finding opportunities, closing contracts and whatnot? Or are you looking more for the employees that would actually be doing like your construction services and working on the bases and whatnot?
No, it's all about securing projects. When it comes to the project itself, I subcontract.
Okay.
People through the company, and that's something that I've done it before many times. It's not that hard. It's just the people itself that will go after every contract or opportunity that the federal government has, and secure those.
Yeah, that's a pain point that a lot of small businesses especially have. And when I say small, I mean small by NAICS code, right? So businesses that are doing, under $20, $30 million a year in revenue, depending on your NAICS code. And I think the problem they find is obviously selling to the government is so much different from selling commercially or B2B, that finding somebody with that skill set can be, first of all, difficult just to find somebody. And then, I could just from my experience as an acquisitions officer, tell you, most of us end up working for the big defense contractors, and they're just gobbling people up and have some crazy offers. And that's hard to compete with if you're a small business and find someone that's trained. And that's part of what we're doing too with our businesses is training sales executives and certifying them for federal sales. So they actually, in military sales, so they actually understand the process and the acronyms and how to go about capturing those contracts. So, that might be something that we can talk about later, but maybe for now, it might help me to understand what's your process now for finding contracts and closing those? Is that something you're doing yourself? Is that something you have somebody in your office doing, or?
My project manager, actually, she was the main member of my company back in 2019, 2020. Late 2020, she passed away because of COVID.
Oh no!
COVID-19, and sort of put me on in a position that I have to pretty much redo the whole company, since I was counting on her, me going overseas and working on different projects. She's the one in the state that was running the whole show. So other than finding qualified employees, I'm also working on to finding a project manager or general to run the business while I'm working overseas.
Sure.
So right now I'm kind of I would say I'm working 75% with a company in going after projects, not really big projects, just the small ones.
Right.
So I can keep the company open.
Sure.
Until I'm able to hire these two side of the company, these two divisions, my general manager and the employees.
Okay.
But to your question is, I'm working on 75% of the company right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to manage a company and do the work, and then also have to go after all of the contracts and whatnot. And
no, not easy at all. Not easy. I mean, it's been a challenge, especially with the restrictions that we have, and it's not the same as pre-pandemic that we were able to go and do the site visits, every projects, face-to-face meeting with the contracting officers. Now everything is virtual, and most of the time we miss so many details within the construction field. For example, it delays the work. The starting of the project, and so it makes our job a lot harder. other than employees,
Yeah, no, it does. What's your primary tool that you use to find upcoming opportunities? Is it word of mouth? Are you going through sam.gov or?
No, the FedBiz.
FedBiz. So yeah, so it's basically, so it used to be FedBiz Ops. Now it's, I think, Beta Sam, sam.gov, right? But it's
that's correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's a government website that have all projects available out there.
And when you look for them, are you looking like by, hey, state of Florida, because you have certifications there with the VA, or are you looking for solicitations or more like RFI, sources sought?
No, the my certification is nationwide.
Oh, it is nationwide. Okay.
Yeah, including Puerto Rico. So I've done projects in different states, including Puerto Rico. And so, yeah, whatever fits well within my scope of work, or if I'm able to find subcontractors in some other states, then we go after those projects.
Okay, interesting. Do you find are you writing proposals on solicitations, or are you going after opportunities like pre-solicitations, like before they actually know the requirements? Are you able to talk with them? And
both. Yeah, we get a lot of invitations from different states, especially within the VA hospital or VA system. And those are invitations because we have a past performance. So we go after that. We put a bid. We know how much to go after in terms of amount of money. We know how to work that system. So that's what we do. That's our practice.
Okay, interesting.
To gain those projects.
And when you first started in selling to the federal government and selling to the VA, what were some of the first projects that you ended up landing? Was that using your certification through the VA, or as you were kind of figuring out the government system there? How did you get started?
Well, as soon as I got out of the service, I started knocking doors. Miami VA Hospital, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, because it was closest to the office. So face to face, I was just talking to every contracting officers with my capability statement to show them what I was capable of doing. Luckily, I would say I was lucky. 3 of the CEOs opened the door for me, so that's how I started working on small projects, like plumbing, AC, and some other procurement that they needed, like medical equipment, supplies, etc.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So we talk a lot about how important relationships are and actually talking to people instead of just putting a proposal in on a solicitation and having no outside information. And it's interesting you got your foot in the door by literally going and knocking on the doors and kind of generating that relationship and turning it into something.
Right. So yeah, it was a good experience, really good. I mean, getting to talk to these CEOs, which they're also ex-military members that runs the hospital and some other division within the VA system. So we were able to talk the same language, military language, Right. And so there was a commodity, there was a brotherhood thing. And so they knew where I was coming from in terms of trying to build a business and things like that. And I built alongside with them the trust, the whatever I said and promised in document, that's exactly what I was going to deliver.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that was really important for me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely important. And it's interesting starting small the way you did and then building up. So right now, size-wise, about how many employees would you say you have at one time on average? And what kind of size jobs can you handle at this point?
Before pre-pandemic, the biggest one I was able to do was $15 million project. Now I'm just going whatever is small, less than $1 million. As mentioned before, just to keep the doors of the business open. Until I'm able to find the right people to take over the projects, the business itself. Yeah. So I can again go back to what we used to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then and of course, we always want to help everybody on the calls here too. So if you're looking for, is it a project manager specifically you're looking for, or somebody more associated with business development that has that kind of federal background?
You have to have a federal background. It doesn't matter whether it's a project manager or just simply the administration side of the business that's
Right.
going to be able to run every employee within the company and to supervise. That's the easy thing. But they have to have a military background on how to work within the federal system.
Sure.
That's a key. That's the key.
No, I agree. It's a very specialized skill set, and it's necessary because you can't. I mean, it could take years to learn that correctly, especially if you're just stumbling around trying to learn it as you go. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
interesting. So now you're of a certain size. You've been doing this for a while. How about contract vehicles? Are you on GSA? How does the government usually put you on contract?
I think it was for the past 2 or 3 years, the GSA, the category between GSA and the service disabled bed companies, sort of they put us on the same GSA category, where if you wanted to go after GSA projects, we were able to go after as well, and we were able to get those projects. So I think the government, somewhere along the line, they increase our certification capabilities to match to the GSA.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that sounds like it's worked out for you. Is that typically how you'll go on contract? Are you typically competing for your contracts with other companies? Is there any sole source contracts that you're able to win?
I mean, within the service disabled company, everything is set aside.
Yep.
When it comes to the VA hospitals or VA projects, when it comes to, per se, the corporate engineers, we have to go and but compete with other companies. Right. Because we already learned the mathematic calculation of how much we can mark up our price, and more so that we have our past performance, then we were able to secure those projects.
Yeah, that it really speaks to, I mean, just as I listen to you, the power of not only understanding pricing, right, which is really important, but how important past performance is, as well as that, if you have a certification that makes sense, whether it's SDVOSB and kind of knowing where to hunt, right? With VA, for instance, they like to use that a lot, or, women-owned small business and 8A, they all have their pluses, right? And ways that you can kind of exploit those and try to create inroads for selling to the government. Yeah. Interesting. So right now, how could I best help you? What would you want to talk about now that where we could vector the conversation to potentially help you in your business, whether it's expanding globally, or are there anything within the acquisitions process or strategies that you'd like to talk about?
I guess everybody knows this. The COVID, the pandemic, put us in the situation that we had to start all over again, because there's a lot of employees that they stopped working, they quit. And so that's the main challenge that we're facing right now. So whether these employees are there in Florida or some other states, I will hire them, because they don't have to be in Florida. And that's something that I've been working on with the different private agencies, employment agencies. They're looking for this type of employees anywhere in the U.S. And so we can hire them and not only go after projects within Florida State, but also in different states. And that's something that I'm working on. And so it's not enough working with these 2 or 3 agency companies that I'm working with to find me employees, and also my project manager or my general manager to run the business. So that alone it's a hard labor, hard work for me
Sure.
to get this company back on the road 100%.
Okay.
So that's the challenge that I'm having right now.
Gotcha. So, and we certainly have a variety of listeners to the podcast and a pretty large network of other small businesses and companies that we work with, to include recruiting organizations that might be able to help you on all fronts, or potentially one of the sales executives that goes through our training might be somebody that you could use on as a program manager or to help you with your business. So that's something we could certainly talk about, and we could send any of those leads or information on individuals your way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, your business is interesting, and I find it interesting how you're going global, and you're in Peru now doing work, and it's nice to see a small business, especially a former military member, kind of grab the certification right away, build the business up, and to be doing really well. Like you said, COVID really did change things for everybody, right? A lot of businesses, it killed a lot of businesses. It created virtual spaces where they didn't exist before. And quite a few companies got into federal sales during COVID because they lost their commercial base, which is an interesting twist, as some got out and some new ones got in. I will say that, because I work in this space, and I'm seeing things, the past 6 months, things have really started opening up from my perspective, as far as being able to go and do live events with, like you mentioned, being able to sit with the contracting officers and program managers. We're able to start doing that again. The conferences are starting to come back alive, where, a lot of businesses are going and attending and networking and doing all of that. So I do see a lot of momentum picking up here as far as that's concerned. So hopefully it will naturally alleviate itself, and potentially we can, make some connections for you as well, as far as some of your employees are concerned.
That would be awesome. I appreciate that.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate your time today. If you have any other questions, we could stay online and keep talking, or we could end the podcast. Absolutely up to you.
No, that's pretty much it. I'm flying, traveling constantly, not only here in South America, but also part of Europe, trying to build a business, the outside of the business. And so I'll be back to Florida in the next 2 weeks and continue working in recruiting the right people. So once again, to build the company again.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm really hopeful, the hope is there. And so, hey, we started with zero. We always get back up, So no matter what conditions we face.
And you know what? Yeah, you've already got, you're not really starting from zero, because you do have that past performance and you have an incredible background. And so you're going to be able to go in there and, not only do what you did before, but I'm sure keep increasing and go kind of globally like you're looking to do. One last question from me. Do you, maybe it's a two-parters. One, do you do commercial work as well as government work? And why do you focus on the government and the DoD for work? Why is that part of your business?
It's a lot easier. For me at least, it's a lot easier work with the federal government projects rather than I'll call it private commercial side of the business. Since the money is secure, the project is a lot quicker than commercial side. I mean, in the commercial, we have to deal a lot with inspectors and rejections, and I mean, their policies are a lot harder than what it is within the federal government. So working with the federal government, most of the employees within that side or that division, they are ex-military. And so they know what we're doing. Once again, we speak the same language, military language. And so the understanding of where we're coming from is there. The commodity, the friendship, the brotherhood is there. So other than the policy itself. So it's, for me at least, it's better, it's easier, and it's quicker to work on federal contracting.
I think I'm smiling because I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that the federal government was faster at doing anything. But my wife's in real estate, so I certainly understand all of the inspections and everything that goes into kind of working commercially there, and with the local governments and all their processes. So yeah, in some cases, there's no question that the federal government is faster, and it sounds like in your case, that's one of them. And I agree. I think the stability of the contracts and they tend to be lucrative too. You kind of understand the system, you know what to expect. So
like I said, if we know how to do the math by taking all these projects within the federal government, the profit is there. You always make money, and you make money quickly, very quick, and in short term of the project, and so you can target 3, 4, or 5 projects at the same time, and you make the money there. It's easy, very easy, and so that's something that I prefer to do rather than commercial.
Well, I think that is going to be very helpful to our listeners, especially those maybe in the same kind of industry as you. Do you ever work with subcontractors or teaming? Are you open to teaming arrangements? So if there's a business that maybe needs a company that can do construction, or maybe they perform some type of service that would be related, are you interested in any of those type of agreements or relationships?
It's a good thing that you're asking that, because back in the 2016, one of the biggest contracting office companies, general construction companies in the state of Florida, in Broward County, they wanted to buy my company because they wanted to do a lot of federal contracting. And so they offered me $7 million to buy my company. So I said no, not knowing what was going to happen in 2020, the pandemic. So yes, I'm open for JV with whomever wants to go over federal contracting. I'm really open to negotiate with anyone who wants to go after federal contracting. I'm not 100% to make everything, every penny. I like to share what we have, our capabilities, our past performance, the know-how to do federal contracting business. And so, but more so to be able to hire veterans to work with us, because we owe to them. We owe to them, and I'm there 100% to get back to these institutions, whether it's Army, Navy, or the other, forces, so they can have also the piece of the pie and learn how the business works, and if they want to go on their own, so be it. I'm all for it. Why not? Why not help them?
Absolutely. And as a veteran myself, I appreciate that. And, to those veterans listening out there, if, you always hear about veterans struggling to find jobs and whatnot, but, this is one industry. And I remember when I joined the Air Force, I asked, hey, what is a job within the government that actually translates into, or within the military, that translates into a great paying job afterwards? And without hesitation, everyone said acquisitions, whether it's a contracting officer, program manager. Like, if you have a knowledge of those systems, that can really translate into something for you afterwards. And I think, to your point, even if you were in the military and not involved with acquisitions at all, you do still speak the same language. You're not starting from zero. So if you were in the Navy or you were in the Army and, you're looking for a job, this might be a profession that you hadn't considered, but you could probably pick up with a little bit more speed than somebody without that type of background. You speak the language, you can learn a little bit of acquisitions, especially specific to a career. And that's, for me, that's, usually what I'm advising people. The FAR, the Federal Acquisitions Regulations, it can be intimidating, but if you focus on your industry and who you're selling to, that narrows it down from a huge ocean to like a little pond. And that is a much easier bit of information to grasp and to become proficient in. So
absolutely, yes, you're right. The way how I do business is that I hate to pay salary. I rather pay percentage to them, so they become part of the company. They'll make more money as partnership, by me paying them percentage. For say, if we get a project in Illinois, whether it's a small or large project, whatever they want to make is up to them. And I'll be more than glad to sign the contract with them. They'll go after the projects. I know if it's a $1 or $2 million projects and they want to, example, they want to make 30 or 40% of that project, why not?
Yeah.
Have them make the money. Have them make the money. Why not? I mean, God is big. I have a big faith in what we do, and so why not help people by applying this kind of business with them? It's not all about my company. It's not all about me. It's about all of us. So we do business based on humanity, in human beings. So if we give them this opportunity and the help for them to make a massive amount of money, why not? That's my philosophy, right?
But that's very generous. And again, for anyone listening here, you can I'll talk with you a little bit after here, Arturo, about how you want to be contacted. But I'll certainly put some information in the notes of the show, whether it's contacting me or Arturo directly, for what employment, JV, which I think you were referring to, joint venture opportunities.
That's correct. Joint venture.
So if there's anything that we talked about and you'd like to be in contact, we could certainly do that. Do you have any closing statements or last thoughts?
Look, I do appreciate this podcast, and so I'm able to speak to you as an ex-Air Force member. It's a great honor to speak to you and a military member that knows what we do for others and what we are capable to do for others, because this is something that we learn in the military. So once again, my appreciation is enormous to you, and thank you so much for allowing me to talk to you and your audience and see how much we can do together to help.
Thank you, Arturo. Trust me, the honor is all mine. And I think you're right. I mean, the big picture is, when we're talking about selling to the military, sometimes it gets missed that, at the end of the day, we're helping our country be a better place, right? So no matter what the service you're providing is, people don't often think of things besides weapon systems that are being provided. But really, as you know, the military buys everything from construction and office supplies to lawn care and food and everything else. And anything you can do and do well and provide to the military, it helps us be a stronger country. It helps us defend ourselves, and it helps the men and women in uniform. So no, thank you for everything you're doing. And yeah, we'll call it a day on the podcast, and we'll reach out to you with any inquiries.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you, Arturo.
Hey guys, Ricky here, and hope you enjoyed this episode of Government Sales Momentum. If you did enjoy the episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. If you're interested in selling products and services to the Department of Defense, I have something for you that you're not going to find anywhere else in the world. The team and I created a program that takes everything you need to win defense contracts and put it into one place. Up until now, only large defense companies and a small amount of people in the know have had access to how products and services are really sold to the Department of Defense. I've taken all of that information and put it in a step-by-step training module that shows you how to consistently sell to the U.S. military. If you join our membership, not only do you get the model, but you get weekly sessions with former DoD acquisitions officers for training, guidance to answer your questions, and a community of like-minded business owners that want to partner on different opportunities for bid, for subcontracting and teaming, or just to discuss general strategy on how to sell to the DoD. You'll have access to every course I've created, every coaching session I've ever recorded, and every interview with an acquisitions professional that I've ever conducted. And we covered topics that range from defense sales planning and competitor analysis to SBIR and STTR, foreign military sales. The list goes on. Go to dodcontract.com if you are interested, and I would love to see you in the membership.